I'm Ryan Newman, and since I started with Indiana Donor Network and Driven to Save Lives, I found out that some people think that they can't be an organ donor. The truth is, anyone can sign up to be an organ donor.
Anyone?
Anyone?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor. So don't count yourself out because somebody's counting on you. Go to driventosavelives.org and sign up today.
But my heart's going to you, Ryan.
Love that shirt.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Man, it's good to be back in this chair. Been way too long. Tonight, it's the TNT Shock Series premiering their fall 6-week season, about 6 weeks or so. I think it's going to run over the course of about 8 weeks. Have a couple of weeks off here before the middle of November, but looking forward to a fantastic night of racing. My name is Chris Graham, joined in the booth, as always, by the Bizzler, Mr. Patrick Bird. Bizzle, what's going on, buddy? Haven't seen you, talk to you in a while here.
It's got to have been at least since May. I mean, we finished the season last season. Watson won the championship after so many years, so many seasons of trying. He finally got it. And then we kind of went dead for basically all of the summer. I had a very exciting summer. Now up here in Ohio, it's getting chilly, and it's time to sit back here and watch some pretend race cars go in circles.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We spent the summer doing some real world stuff and actually like seeing our families and stuff after work, which is nice. But now we're back and kicking things off here at the Iowa Speedway, place where Elio Castroneves holds the track record at 17-2. Tristan Moss, new driver. In fact, a lot of new names in the series for this 6-race season. Tristan Moss holding the current best lap at a 20.806 second lap. Just because the cars may be a tick slower than the Indy cars are, doesn't mean we're not going to see some wild racing out here as practice is just about done, Bizzle. Some guys over 200 laps. Murray Damon, 225 laps completed in practice. Brian Labarge, 216. A lot of guys putting a lot of laps in. They're taking this thing seriously here to start the season.
In fact, it's funny you say a tick slower. I think the action gets more exciting with the less horsepower of these cars, a shorter wheelbase, just a smaller car in general. But they're not that much slower than the Indy cars. What are we running here? 21s, 22s? I mean, that's not a whole lot of time considering.
20.8 is where we're at. We're basically 21 flat. You're not talking a huge speed difference. And to your point, go to any racetrack on the planet. The headline division is going to be good. The best race of the night, though, we're going to be the Bang Bangers running around, beating the crap out of each other at an open wheel race weekend. The slower the cars get, oftentimes the closer the racing is. And, I mean, that's what we're going to see here tonight. You're only talking a gap of half a second from first to 23rd.
I mean, even talk about the road course stuff. You and me, we both went down the Daytona last year for the 24-hour race, and what is the only race we stayed coherent for to watch it through its entirety? Miatas.
The Miatas, the MX-5 Cup race is the only one that we watched from front to back, and it was absolutely fantastic. That's why it's one of the best races of the entire weekend. Now, qualifications are underway here. James Watson sitting at the end of pit lane will pick up Vic Aldrich in the number 98. He making his way onto the back straightaway. 7/8 of a mile, Biz, a little bit more banking than what you see at Richmond Raceway. This was it was designed by Rusty Wallace to be Richmond, but better. And I really think he absolutely nailed it in every way. There's enough banking, like you said, they can run 2 and 3 wide here. They're going to carry a ton of speed around this place. But it also means in qualifying, you had better be spot perfect with your 2 laps.
Yeah, you really do, especially being 2-lap average. You have to nail both laps. You can't sacrifice the exit of turn 4 on your lap 1 to maximize your lap 2. You need to hit it spot on both laps. So kind of just maximize your out lap and then run 2 full race pace laps. You can't even think of it as qualifying. You have to run them like a race because both laps matter.
Second lap in the books for Vic Aldrich. He's going to move up to second quick. Best lap time at 21.203, 27 thousandths off the top spot. Now Jason Paydu moving up into position number 2. Let's pick up Chris Hill. He is finishing up his second lap, and Hill very, very quick in these cars in the past. Lap number 2 on the board for Hill. He's going to go top of the charts, 21.160 best lap time for Chris Hill. 3 1,000ths back to Brian Labarge. Jason Owens up into position number 5. And let's see, JJ Wang moving up the board. Let's pick up Justin Elliott as he's pulling back out onto the racetrack. How about Chris Kresge at speed in the 777 machine? He is currently working lap number 1 off of turn 4. Go ahead, Bizzle.
I can't believe Jason Owens is on the racetrack. Not 5 minutes ago, he sent us a picture of him in what he called running shoes, kicked up on the table while the guy poured beer in his living room. And here he is, currently 5th quick on the board with just a couple cars left to qualify. I think that 5th is going to stay.
Yeah, potentially. Let's see here. Dakota DeMang moving up to P3. And let's see. Chris Kresge is going to be up into position number 17. Now, he's 17th on the grid. You go, man, that guy's slow, right? How about Chris Kresge is 0.169 seconds off the pole time? The top 19 cars are separated by less than 0.2 of a second over their qualification runs. Looks like Jesse Francisco will not get a lap in. Stephen C. Thompson did get a time in. He's going to be about 0.3 off the pace. Justin Elliott, same deal. He will not get a lap in either.
Not only that, you look at Chris Kresge all the way back there in the back of the pack, and if you're new to this series, this might be your first TNT race you're watching, you might say, yeah, that guy sucks. But earlier in the night, we were discussing who are the OGs of TNT, and Chris Kresge is absolutely one of those guys I say is one of the OGs here. He is one of the experts with this car on these ovals. If you're looking for a contender for the Hard Charger Award, I would put Chris Kresge there. I would put Stephen Thompson there. He's qualified 21st. I would definitely put Nagisa Yoshikawa there, currently qualified 20th. All 3 of those cars are going to be Hard Charger contenders tonight.
Yeah, I think we have quite a few that are going to be pretty darn good here. Chris Hill, Brian Labarge, and what we're seeing, this is a nature of the beast thing, is Wes Shire is on the speedway, and he is barely going to get the lap in here, down to 42 seconds as he's making his way into turn 3. Now, our timing and scoring systems are kind of set up 2 different ways. One is showing us the 2-lap average. The other is showing us basically based off your fastest lap. So I am saying, what is the timing and scoring board on your screen, I believe, should be accurate. Right now it's Chris Hill and Brian Labarge, but Wes Shire, Peter Donchak, both on the racetrack. And with 10 seconds left, Shire may not get this full qualifying run in.
Not only that, Shire is going to be the one to watch all season, especially early on in the season. Hasn't touched the sim rig since May. Not going to get the lap in, as you saw. but has not touched the sim rig since May. Was a championship contender last season, brought it all the way down to the wire in the very last race between him and James Watson. This season, though, we're going to have to watch him early on. I think he's going to be chasing his tail at least till week 2 or week 3 when he gets reacclimated to the sim. Been very busy at work, hasn't even come to hang out or say hi all summer long.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one here. Let's take a look. Let's pull up this camera, and we will give you tonight's starting grid for the TNT Shock Series fall season opener here from the Iowa Speedway. Starting on the pole with a lap time of 21.195 seconds, it is California's Christopher Hill, lining up to his outside. Guy who came in second last season in the TNT Shock Series, Brian Labarge, only 0.003 of a second back in the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory number 8. Row number 2 on the grid will have the Napa Auto Parts number 28 of Jason Paydu, alongside of the Team Watson Racing Setup, ZAS Designs National Racing Network number 39 of James Watson. Vic Aldrich in the Dizzy V Designs Team Watson Racing Setups number 98, alongside of the 82 of Dakota DeMeg. Jason Owens in the 87, lining up alongside of JJ Wang. We're still not to a tenth of a second, by the way, separating the field. Micah Damon lining up inside of row 5 to his outside, the number 81 of Andrew Berry. Mike Long in the 21 alongside of Vic Pfluger in the number 80. Row number 7, the AJ Camargo. And Jason Miller in the Miller High Life Special. Fantastic. Miller High Life Special. Dave Sparks and Liam Melsa on row number 8. Row 9, Drew Bernardi and Steve Costley. Row number 10, Chris Kresge in the 777 alongside of Nagisa Yoshikawa. Little bit surprised to see Nagisa that far back on the grid here tonight. Stephen C. Thompson inside of row 11 alongside of the number 41 of Tristan Moss. Back now with the cars that did not get lap times in. Wes Shire in the Homestead Coffee Canon Cameras number 16. Schaefer Oil also on the side of that car. And on the outside, number 13, Peter Donchak, the 24th car on the grid. Finally, row number 13, Jesse Francisco in the T. Watson Racing Setups number 7, alongside of the Canon, well, there's a yellow sponsor there, I can't say, Labatt Renault Elf, number 926 of Justin Elliott.
My father actually came and visited me for the first time in my new apartment last weekend, and he loved that yellow sponsor I have hanging on a flag that you watched me buy in Daytona that hangs right over my sitting. Right under it is a whole display of other stuff of that beautiful yellow sponsor.
That's awesome. Field off at turn number 4. Green flag goes in the air. We're underway. Oh, baby. 3 wide at the start. Labarge might be hung out to dry.
Brian Labarge sleeping on the start. I don't know if he took too much melatonin tonight or just forgot the cup of coffee. Homestead Coffee, got to shout them out. Crazy action. Almost a wreck at the start.
Yeah, almost wadding the field up, and they are 2 and 3 wide throughout the pack as they'll come around to complete lap number 1, and it is Chris Hill. 50 minutes is the distance in this one, not your typical oval racing. That really becomes a bigger deal kind of the deeper we get into this race, Fizzle, because now you're talking about having to kind of fight your way through and figure out when do you make the stop? Can you get to 25 minutes? If this race goes clean and green, knocking on wood, I don't think you can make 25 minutes on the tank of fuel that they have.
Not only that, new for the 2024-2025 season of racing here in the Shock Series, we've reduced the fuel capacity by 3 liters, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. I mean, that's a 2 liter of Coke and a half of one of those. So just put it in perspective there for us here in the States that aren't used to dealing in liters. Doesn't sound like a lot of fuel, but last season they were able to make it to that 25-minute mark. Now they're going to be making it to the 22-23-minute mark. So it's going to be a 2-stop race unless you get lucky with a caution or get lucky with a couple of cautions. You're going to need to make 2 stops.
Correct, because it's not even like you can get the early caution and say, okay, I know I can make the 25-minute mark. You may want to top off on fuel anyway if you're towards the back of the pack and maybe put some fresh sticker Cooper tires on these things, it really opens up the strategy game if you get early yellow.
Yeah, that's why I wish more oval racing went to the timed format. Not so much at the super local level, but I wish NASCAR ran a couple timed races in addition to their 500, 400-mile races. It just changes up the strategy so much. You know exactly the time the race is going to end, but it's just you don't know what's going to happen until then. You don't know the distance that race is going to be. Are we going to have a 200-mile race at Dover because they can't keep it together? Or are we going to have a 700-miler at Daytona because they run flag to flag?
Or are you going to run a minute and 52 seconds short?
Yeah, exactly. It changes all of your calculations from distance to time, which it screws up every piece of math these crew chiefs have been building since the 1960s.
I love when the graphics program works as so fantastically
I know what he's doing.
Good Lord.
Coming up next on NRN, we have dirt midgets that you're never going to see.
I'm a little rusty too, all right? Get off me. Ed McCullen saying Richmond put in a court deal. Yes, where they don't allow tent camping in RV spots.
Oh, man, that reminds me. I forgot we had a command for that here in the TNT service.
Getting a message from race control. Car number 98 reported as blinking. And we were joking about it in the pre-race, talking with the drivers, that the internet connections sometimes are not the greatest. That becomes an issue at a place like Iowa because you're running so close to each other. And in a 6-race championship, you can't have any netcode issues.
Yeah, you really have to get in contact with your ISP, let them know, don't do any maintenance tonight. We really need this for our points tonight. Because this season is only 6 weeks long. We're not running the full, we ran 18 races last season, 15 to 18 races, where you had an opportunity to screw up one night and it wasn't that big of a deal. Here, it's only 6 races. You have to hit the mark each and every night. You don't get a comeback.
Yeah, and right now we're about 5 minutes into this 50-minute race, and we're still seeing the 2 and 3 wide, but what's interesting is the front drivers are not able to check out. It's J.J. Wang, Watson, Hill, Payne, and Owens, the top 5. Nobody is able to check out. They're basically just kind of sitting there in front of this pack.
Yeah, I'm not seeing as much of the draft fest as we're used to seeing here at Iowa in these PM18s. I mean, we have a huge pack here, but you're not getting the 2-3 wide action at the front. It's kind of J.J. Wang hanging out all by himself. James Watson trailing in right behind him.
Might have been Vic Pfluger. It was.
Looks
Vic
like
Pfluger went around.
Everyone's pointed in the right direction, though. We stay green.
Yeah, let's take a look at the replay here. Keep your eye on that yellow machine down to the inside. Maybe a little bit of a touch.
Just bobble.
But, oh, baby, what a save.
You just don't do that here at Iowa. I mean, Iowa for years, especially when I used to run the IR18s and the DW12s here at Iowa, it was almost like playing a game of the floor is lava with that yellow line. That yellow line is lava. If you touch it at any point, doesn't matter if you're half spin, doesn't matter if you're driving the car perfectly fine, you hit that yellow line, the car goes into an immediate tailspin and you're out in the outside wall.
Scott Thompson is checking in. Who is playing the concert after the race tonight? That would be Motley Crue and Megadeth. It's a doubleheader ticket to go with the post-race concert here tonight.
Is Scott Thompson your neighbor that plays in the band?
No, it is not.
Huh? Oh. Well, I was hoping to thank him for the Dover tickets over the air, but...
Yes. Let me see.
Thanks anyway for watching, Scott.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate it. I'll tell you what, Bizzle, they're starting to get a little little antsy here at about the midpoint of the pack. Not a lot of incentive for Watson or Hill to really try to make a move on J.J. Wang, but the more this outside group starts to make some moves forward, it can kind of force the hand of Watson.
So Steven Thompson still sitting in the 22nd position, but those other two I was talking about in the pre-race, Nagisa Yoshikawa and Chris Kresge. Kresge making his way up to the 8th position, currently is your hard charger. Nagisa Yoshikawa up to 12th. He's adequately in the mid-pack there in that purple machine. You might have watched him in qualifying and said these guys kind of suck, but that's only because you haven't watched TNT racing in the past. These guys are some of the best of the best, and I don't know if Wes is putting some hard charger points on offer this year, but if he is, those guys are going to try and get him.
I'll tell you what, Jason Owens is a man possessed at the moment. He has gone bottom to top the last 2 sets of corners. Worked his way up into position number 4. He's up 3 from where he started. Take a look at your hard chargers. How about Jesse Francisco up 16, now 17 spots.
Oh man,
I didn't even see
Jesse Francisco. He must be a new name here in the Shock Series. And clearly doing very, very well with these cars. Currently in the 7th position in that number 7 machine. Is there a sister league to TNT we don't know about? Is there anyone else running these cars? How is this guy so good without the experience?
Well, we saw him a little bit towards the end of last season. He was very, very quick. And quite frankly, just make some of the kind of new guy mistakes, if you will. But he's one of those names that you go, man, we got to keep an eye on. This Hill slides up the racetrack, maybe got a piece of Owens off a turn 4 that time. You have to start wondering, when do they think about pit stops? Because if you know you can't make it all the way, do you just have to run it until the tank's dry? Or can you maybe try the strategy game if you can get 2 or 3 cars to come with you?
With this being a 2-stop race, it opens the door immensely. I would say the pit window opens about 12 minutes in. So with 38 minutes remaining, about another 2.5 minutes from now, that pit window opens. If we were to stay green all the way to the end, you can pit there.
That was big contact from Damon into the back of Jason Owens. Nearly had him sideways off a 4. Murray Damon, one of the new names in the series this season. A lot of success in the IndyCar side of things on the iRacing platform. New to the league. Oh, as LaFarge makes contact! Caution is out. And it looks like it's going to be Brian LaFarge and Jesse Francisco making contact. Take a look at the replay here. Off of turn number 4, LaFarge starts to come down. Little clip into Francisco, and around they go. That will put us under caution for the first time here tonight. And now,
one of the most talented guys in this series, but Iowa just seems to be his demon. Where the Andretti's have the curse at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think Brian LaFarge has the curse here at Iowa. In the pre-race, we were talking about how Brian LaFarge was leading, had an easy win last season, and unfortunately had an incident with a lapped car and took out the top 10 of that race. This time, didn't collect nearly as many cars, which I can't give him points for doing that, but unfortunately spins himself out. Hopefully that car is not too damaged and he can continue on in this race. As just what I was saying, about 38 minutes to go, that pit window is open. I imagine every single car here is going to top off on the fuel. And I don't think we limit tire sets here in the Shock Series, so I don't see why any of these cars wouldn't take a set of tires, considering it takes longer to fuel the car than put tires on.
Well, J.J. Wang, your race leader, will follow him down into his box. Race control telling us the incident is under review between car 8 and car 87. let's see, the time of the stop for J.J. Wang, 6.5 seconds. The 13 of Peter Donchak elects to stay out on the racetrack. Means Petey Pop, that's what we called him. Petey Pop going to take the lead over here. As you see the driver circling through on the pit tower. So Donchak will hold the race lead as we will come back to green. It will make him our new hard charger leader.
I'm not sure how much I love staying out, but unless Petey thinks he can go the distance, go to 25 minutes remaining, and then make this a one-stop race, it could work out for him.
That's it. If the timing of the caution works out, it's brilliant. If the timing of the next caution doesn't work out, you might be in trouble.
We reduced the fuel tank by only 3 liters. Is this single caution enough to get him that 25-minute mark? But even if he makes it to 25 minutes, there's not 25 minutes of fuel left in that tank anymore. He's going to need another caution in the second half of this race to make the distance.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. If the timing works out right, and even where if he could theoretically make a stop under green and not necessarily guaranteed to go a lap down. Although we're going to see Donchak head for pit lane this time, so.
He must be listening to us on a second broadcast, and we just got into his head and made him think he didn't have enough.
You do. I believe you get a bonus point for leading a lap. So Donchak stays out, gets the lap led, potentially the bonus point. And now we're going to have single file restarts here as the lights are out on the iRacing safety car.
We had this discussion last season. The current point system is bonus point for getting the pole, the most laps led, and the fastest lap. Leading a single lap doesn't get you anything except your face on the broadcast for about 30 seconds as we pace around under yellow. JJ Wang not hanging as high as most of the other drivers typically do on these restarts, as Jason Owen's going to try and jump him on the start here.
There's the word from Race Control. Car 8 and 87, a post-race review will be on that incident as we go back to green flag racing here. 33 laps on the board, 35 minutes, 26 seconds ticking down. And this really now the restarts being single file. Oh, as Wang goes around, he spins! Caution is out. Oh, we're going to have multiple cars involved now.
Brian Labarge narrowly avoids calamity down the front straightaway. I want non-board of Labarge's car through that wreck.
Yes. Let's take a look here. JJ Wang having an issue off of turn number 4. And it looked like the car just stepped out on him towards the exit of the corner. Jason Owens got a big piece of that. Nagisa Yoshikawa did as well. Dave Sparks got a ton. Oh, man, I think Labarge may have gotten a piece. Steve Costley spins down to the inside.
Yeah, I don't know how Labarge is doing. It looks like I saw Sparks out of the left rear there. He might have just barely gotten tagged, but what JJ Wang did, very, very easy to do. These cars on cold tires, they will very quickly step out on you in these corners at Iowa.
Let's take a look here as Labarge from the NRN on board. Man, I think he may have barely gotten away with it.
Do we have a tight shot that we can take a peek at the left rear of that car? Because if he did make contact with anyone, it's going to be on that left rear tire. And if you break one of those control rods, it's night over for you. They can't replace those in the pits.
Well, let's take a look here and go on board with the Exorcist cam.
That left rear tire looks dead straight. Doesn't look like he's fighting the car at all. Even on that onboard cam you had, it didn't look like that car was skewed any bit sideways.
Well, let's take a look. We gotta...
Oh, here we go. from race control, incident. I won't list every car in it, but I will say the number 8 does have incident points from that caution, but does not have a meatball, so that car is not terminally damaged.
No.
And I don't see any damage on there. Must have just barely gotten clipped.
Yeah, barely got a piece of the action is what it looks like here, as we'll swing this camera back around and forward. Yeah, this one is going to be an interesting call to me for race control, because yes, JJ Wang was initially responsible, but
there were separate incidents.
Correct. That was where it kind of gets to, what do we think is actually the other causes of incidents?
Cause of the caution, I think you very easily can put that on JJ Wang. Everything else, I would have to say, is just a reaction to it. Just everyone's on cold tires, you step on the brakes, the car is going to step out on you, and if you don't have room to chase it, there's a car coming up on you on the outside, you're going to make contact there. Everything else was reactionary. If I was in the race control position, that caution is on JJ Wang.
Yeah, that one's easy. It's the others that were potentially slowing down too fast.
I don't think you can penalize any of that, though. It's just, I would just chalk all that up to racing incident and not look any further into it. I don't think you can there. It's very difficult to control these cars on ice-cold tires. As we saw, JJ Wang was your leader, and he lost it.
Yeah, it's a great point. The cold tires are an issue, and now Jason Owens at the front of the field, a dominant force in seasons past. Not so much the last couple of seasons or so. Will be interesting to see what Owens can do. That car has been very, very quick tonight, and he has been dogfighting with Chris Hill. James Watson now sits third. Yoshikawa up the fourth. Dakota DeMay rounding out the top 5 as Watson already going to have a look inside of Hill into 3.
Now, Jason Owens with a new paint scheme this year. I did not catch what his sponsor was, but no longer running any blue on that number 87 machine.
Yes, side of the car just says Owens. He is a self-sponsored driver now. Man, oh, Yoshikawa's up in the wall. Three-wide battle for the race lead towards turn 3. Watson backs out. Hill holding down the inside. Owens up on the top side. Oh, man, he's almost up into the wall. We talked a little bit about this in the pre-race where West Shire's sets will cook off the right rear tire. Jason Owens' setups a lot of times will cook off just the entire right side of the car. If you're already potentially seeing that, that could be ugly for Owens the longer we get into this run.
Yeah, there were a couple of new drivers in the voice chat before the race started. We were saying if you like a car that understeers, you're going to pick Jason Owens' setup. His setups consistently tear off the right front tire. If you like a car that oversteers, you're going to want a West setup. His setups pretty consistently tear off the right rear tire. And those are the two schools of thought in these cars. And I've been just as fast in a West setup as I have in a Jason setup. But I can tell you, in a real long race, I tend to go faster in the West setups just because I tend to put a little more wheel in than everyone else, and I tend to burn off the right front just in the way I drive. So Jason setups aren't for me, but I have gone just as fast, and you can with either setup.
Looking a little bit deeper in the pack here, Jason Paydu, Brian Labarge, Jesse Francisco. Kind of in the middle of this fight. This is going to be, we'll say 10th on back. I mean, really, they're not that far off. It's really Chris Kresge in 7th is where this pack is separated. Top 6 breaking away from everybody else. You wonder if you might have a little bit of fuel saving going on out of this group.
Yeah, it's kind of weird here at Iowa to see the packs break away. Usually it's just kind of one big beehive and everyone's kind of swarming together. But that breakaway is going to hurt everyone from Kresge on back, where you're not going to be able to catch those top 6 guys. It becomes a race for 7th position.
Yeah, you just have to think at some point you're going to get another yellow. This is where and this is just a hashtag me personally thing, I would love to see the Shock Series go to double file restarts on the bigger tracks like this for these cars, where you can kind of get away with it a little bit more. Some of the short ovals we run, the single file restart, the double file restarts can just be carnage. Whereas here, you can kind of get away with it. I mean, you look at Wes Shire, he's high, wide, and handsome 3 wide with Andrew Berry and Vic Aldrich back here.
I want to disagree with you just for the sake of nostalgia. Old school IndyCar, you had the single file restarts. It's the way it's always been done in open wheel racing. And that's one of the things I think we can get away with not changing. I would like to see kind of the NASCAR style restart, where if you do go a lap down, you get to start on the bottom line right at the front of the field and see if maybe you get lucky with another caution and you're in front of the leaders. But I think
to me, the Lucky Dog handles that very, very well.
Just me personally, I've always been a fan more of the single file restart than a double file restart. It adds too much calamity to the equation. It adds too much opportunistic thought to the equation, where you're going to have guys, especially towards a late race restart, trying to think they could pick up 4 or 5 spots, and all of a sudden you just get caution after caution after caution.
Yeah. And that is something we have seen before in this league without the assistance of double file restarts. Doesn't happen often. It's usually one race a season. It's just an absolute dumpster fire.
It does look like that backpack has caught the front pack now, as Chris Kresge moved himself up to the 6th position. He's on that high line right now trying to get by even more cars.
Yeah, the top 19 cars are separated by about 3 1/3 seconds or so. And then the entirety of them catching up is because we started seeing more double file racing towards the front.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Iowa is kind of the perfect track where if you're in the draft, you should be able to hold it flat out, but as soon as you get double file and you're on that bottom line, you do have to lift a little bit in the draft. Otherwise, you're going to push up and hit the car to the outside of you, and that slows the entire pack down, allows everyone to catch up. As Wes Shire, now you see him at the very tail end of that pack, he's going to start making his way up through this field now.
Message from race control, the lap 33 crash, no further action being deemed a racing incident, kind of from front to back. So no additional penalties will result, or review for that matter, will result from that, as we're seeing a couple of cars heading back onto the racetrack. Steve Costley and Drew Bernardi were those 2 cars. And now, Bizzle, we're past the halfway point. So, from here, basically, the pit window is open, or at least once we get down to, about 22 minutes or so remaining, pit window will be open. And at some point, you're going to start to see drivers heading down pit lane.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when does the first guy hit, and this being a pack race, you almost get the same thing as Daytona with the Cup cars, is you don't want to pit alone. If you pit alone, you screw yourself. Even if you're going for the short pit that mathematically should work for you, it might not if you're by yourself. So a lot of teamwork can be required. Now we have about 90% of the grid is in a voice chat all together. Everyone hangs out in there, so I would imagine we see most of this field put together, but you might have a couple of your stragglers like Jason Owens. I know Jason Owens is by himself with Andrew Berry, but we see that pair put together later on in the race. Jason Owens currently in the 4th position, Andrew Berry currently in the 15th position.
Yeah, and that's it. When you say stragglers, they're in a different channel. within the Discord server for the TNT Shock Series. What we don't see, and this is kind of unusual for a league of this size, you don't have individual team rooms where the drivers are kind of, the Team Watson Racing guys might be in one room, and Owens and Berry might be in another room, and you have 6 or 8 different rooms for all the different teams. Almost everybody is in one Discord, in one channel, so it makes it easier for communication to call out things like pit stops, and even a little bit of I think it kind of tones down some of the animosity at times, because you can just be like, hey, come on, watch out, I'm here. And you just settle those things very quickly in the voice chat.
Yeah, that's what I love about this TNT League, where iRacing does have a voice chat where you can communicate with your other drivers on track and you can blast out a message to everyone. But everyone in here chooses to sit in the TNT voice chat all together, where you have a hot mic all the time. It's not like you're hitting the push to talk where you can say, screw you, man, and then hit the push to talk and go, hey, man, come on, watch out. It's whatever comes by, whatever comes out to your mouth, everyone can hear, and there's just such a good camaraderie between everyone that it happens. Tempers get hot very quickly, and they flare down very quickly. I don't think we've ever had a true heated screaming match in the server in the 4 years we've been running this place.
Yeah, a couple of rage quits, maybe. Madison
That's just racing, though.
Madison is checking in. Will you guys do any dirt tracks? Not in these cars, we won't.
Hang on, we have done a dirt track in these cars, and me, myself, and I, that's where the whole bratwurst bet between me and Wes started. Wes said I wouldn't go and run the soup. I ran the soup, I parked it in the heat race, started last in the C main, won that, won the B main, and won the A main, and Wes still owes me, I think, 86,000 bratwursts from that one. No, Maddie, we don't run any dirt tracks here in the TNT Shock Series, but we might have some fun here, possibly a Chili Bowl style, or Tulsa Shootout style special event here later in the season.
I think that one could be fun. It really depends on the car and the track. I bet you those mini stocks at Port Royal and Williams Grove have got to be a blast. A lot of full throttle time, a lot of sliding the back end through the corners. That one sounds like it might be something for us to try out.
Port Royal is still a track on my bucket list I have never been to. Definitely, I got to drive out east, you got to drive out west. We got to meet up with each other at Port Royal. I would hope that Maddie would be coming along to that one as well. Port Royal, definitely one of those bucket list tracks.
Yes, that was the Speed Palace is something else, and you got to get out to Williams Grove too. Hang out up on Beer Hill. That one is a ton of fun. Maddie, I know you do a lot of the micro sprint stuff as well. Fantastic work behind the camera. I think we got to get you two out to Lanco one night too. A high banked Bristol dirt, but it's only an 1/8 mile. Wigless 600s running like high 9-second, low 10-second laps.
So, I was out chatting with Maddie and her whole family the other night. The very first show that I shot at Linda's for you, Maddie and her whole family was there with her brother-in-law actually racing in that Linda's National Open race.
I say the Linda's National Open coming up in just a couple of weeks. Jonestown, Pennsylvania Oval. Those 600s absolutely rip around Linda's. Lanco is, yes. Well, I say, if you've been to Linda's, you've probably been to Lanco then too, Maddie. But now down inside of 20 minutes left to go here, and we are 2 and 3 wide throughout the pack, basically. Chris Hill continuing to tick off laps led at the front. James Watson doing a very nice job holding second as well. How about the shout to Jason Miller in that number 22 machine? Maybe a little bit of a Bobby Allison type throwback here. The Miller High Life colors. Jason parks this thing in Victory Lane. I will be cracking a champagne of beers tonight.
To say, I love that old Miller. I consider it a Porsche scheme because of Porsche Penske's. I believe they also ran that scheme in IMSA with the Miller cars. I know they ran it in NASCAR a couple times. It's just one of those beautiful 80s, 90s paint schemes that racing needs more of now.
Yeah, as much as I hate to say this, I kind of like the F1 rule. You don't get to change your color scheme every week. Pick a color scheme and run it. Change the sponsor logos all you want. The cars should look similar from week to week so the fans know who they're looking for.
Not only that, but the current paint schemes, there's none of them that I look at and go, that is going to be beautiful when I buy it as a die cast, and I'm going to look at it 20 years from now and go, that is the most gorgeous paint scheme I've ever seen. There's just none of that anymore. Every scheme is just a bunch of sponsor logos, the sponsor's colors just kind of thrown up like someone shot a paintball gun at the car, and yeah, it's good enough for this week. It's going to be different next week anyway.
And McCullough saying, throw some Aperol in that highlight. It's a spaghetti. Yes.
I still have not tried a spaghetti.
Oh, they're fantastic. I tried one down in Ocean City, Maryland. I taught a bartender how to make it, which is odd because I had never had one. But it was absolutely delicious, and it works with just about any beer you want to dump into it.
We have cars making their first way down the pit stops. I believe I saw Jason Owens. Who else did I see pulling down into the pit lane? 3 cars now making their way down. JJ Wang, he's been in the pits for about 17 minutes, it looks like.
Yeah.
Like I said, Andrew Berry following Jason Owens in the pits, as well as Justin Elliott. Now, is a 3-car tandem going to be enough here at Iowa to not go multiple laps down? You see the field coming around now while they're still in the pit lane, so they're going to be at least 1 lap down. God forbid the caution comes out now.
Yeah, Justin Elliott down and away 7.9 seconds. Jason Owens up over 12 seconds. Same for Andrew Berry. I would think there had to be contact. I'm not seeing anything in our incident viewer. But obviously very, very long pit stops for Jason Owens and Andrew Berry.
Seeing in the race control chat, black flags to both the 87 and 81 machine. Both of them must have had a speeding on pit lane or something, possibly entering past the commitment cone, smacking that yellow cone we have down there. But big trouble there for Andrew Berry and Jason Owens. I would consider that night over here with only the lucky dog getting their lap back under these cautions and only 15 minutes remaining. There's not enough time, and nor is there enough calamity here at Iowa. Any hope of getting those laps back. Might as well park it and go back to watching these outdoor videos.
We are seeing black flags were cleared.
Black flags can be cleared, but if you take the penalty, you park it in the pit box, iRacing will make you serve that full penalty even if you have been waived from that penalty. As we now see just about the rest of the field diving in. Almost close contact there for Brian Labarge. See a lot of those TWRS colors pulling their way into the pit lane.
Chris Hill going to be leading that train down pit road. Let's pick him up and follow the pit stops. Okay, so M. McCullough saying they served them. I'm wondering if that isn't related to the TNT Shock Series rulebook.
I know the rule you're referencing. I don't believe that's a rule anymore. I believe that was only for the initial season.
Well, hold on. There is an incident limit, I believe.
I don't think either of those cars would have hit that incident limit, though.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't have any additional word here for race control, but James Watson around Chris Hill. Jason Miller, Nagisa Yoshikawa, Jason Paydu, Steven C. Thompson all on pit lane. And still at the front of the field, Vic Aldridge, Peter Donchak, and Dakota DeMay. As Aldridge is now on pit lane.
Getting more word from race control and McCullen. Jason Owens complained about not hitting the limiter, and she believes they both got blacks as soon as they hit pit lane, so most likely both speeding on pit entry.
There you go. Absolute heartbreakers for Owens and Berry. Oh! Wow, as one car slides up onto the racetrack very quickly. Nearly made contact with Vic Fluker.
Kevin LePage. Oops, sorry.
Oh, the caution is out, and Peter Donchak's in the lead. Caution is out.
Is Peter Donchak the only car on the lead lap? That's going to throw this whole race off. Peter Donchak can screw everyone by staying out on this pit stop, on this caution flag. If he stays out, the whole field except for James Watson is a lap down. And if the caution were to come out immediately after, he gets that free pit stop, and it's only him and Watson on the lead lap. This is full Paul Tracy danger zone.
Oh, wait, hold up a second here. He's coming around, and he's going to pit now. He's past the pace car, but...
He must be on fumes.
The car is under power.
He must be on fumes to have that thing running then. If he's going to pass the pace car, take that penalty, and pit under a closed pit lane and take that penalty, that car was not making another lap under caution. Just barely a top off of fuel. I don't believe the tires got changed on that car.
Nope, but Donchak now sitting motionless on pit lane.
Well, because it's a pretty hefty penalty for passing the pace car.
Now James Watson is coming around. He got the wave around as the first car one lap down. So Watson will be the race leader. However, I believe everybody else is going to get the wave around now.
Everyone else should get the wave around now. Otherwise, James Watson is going to start 90% of a lap ahead of the rest of the field.
Wait a minute. There's also the short. We're down to almost 10 minutes remaining. Donchak back on his way out. Peter Donchak's going to be in second position behind James Watson.
There is no way.
But
this is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen iRacing do. So is the whole field going to get the wave around? Is it going to move James Watson as the leader? And if it is, it gives the wave around one to go. So the whole field is going to be at race pace trying to catch up to James Watson behind the pace car. M. McCullen in race control might need to delay this caution one lap when that one to go signal comes out. Now, that is fully a race control decision, though. Do we just let the field run up to the leaders at race pace and see if they can catch them, or?
Well, they're going to catch them, and they're going to catch them at absolutely full tilt. So we will await the word from race control. Dave, yes. Human sacrifice. Dogs and cats living together. Yes.
Dave Sparks, one of the first cars out of this race. One of the most talented drivers on the grid, with the absolute worst luck of any driver I think I've ever seen. But he puts himself damn near on the top spot week in, week out, but I don't think I've ever seen him win a race here. I think he has one TNT win under his belt, but that might be it.
Bizzle, Peter Donchak has come around James Watson.
So is it still calling Donchak the leader?
I believe it is calling Peter Donchak the race leader here. Let's move up towards the front. This is Chris Hill. He's the 4th car in line, but he is 3rd, and this is where I think things get a little screwy. The cars of Jason Owens, I'm trying to see who else this is. The lights are out. Is everybody going to get past the pace car? Owens does, Hill does.
Everyone up to Peter Donchak is going to pass space car. So,
Now, but the lights just went back on the iRacing safety car. So Ed McCullen has extended the caution by 1 lap.
so Peter Donchak gets a free pit stop there.
A free
He
pit
might be
stop and
lucky
all
to
the way
stay
to the
alive.
front of the field. And Steve Costley is going to restart between Donchak and Watson.
So Madison shooting me a text message here asking, so Dave Sparks and our buddy Drew Duncan, would they get along? And I said, oh yeah. Dave Sparks might be the unluckiest guy here on the iRacing side. Drew Duncan has not gotten a win all season long at Goods Raceway. Been one of the fastest guys week in, week out, gotten screwed out of every win he could possibly get. He had one race basically in the bag. Unlucky caution came out. They let the guy who caused the jump start get his spot back, and he ended up winning the race. And then last weekend at Blanket Hill Speedway, won the race but blew the motor up down the backstretch.
Dave Sparks saying, actually, this place was my only race win for TNT. Well, are we going to get another unexpected winner here with Peter Donchak? Lights are out. Costley doing the gentlemanly thing, getting out of the way down to the inside. But Watson can't pass him
Until the green comes out.
Now the green's out. Watson's going to have a shot with 5 minutes and 55 seconds remaining.
The whole field's going to catch Watson, and they're going to tandem together. I think Donchak has too much of a lead. When this field catches him, he's going to be a sitting duck, and he's going to fall back.
That's assuming Donchak is going to get caught. We have another caution. It will be a quickie yellow. Race control does have that inside the last, I believe it's the last 5 minutes of the race.
Watson has caught him. Is this going to be a 2-car battle for the win at basically a super speedway, at a pack race track? Is it going to be a 2-car battle for the win?
At the rate that Watson is catching, it may not be much of a battle.
Watson's going to slide up. Watson is clear for the position, takes the defensive line to the inside, completely clear now going into turn number 3.
So
was that Nee Camargo spinning and getting into... No, it wasn't Nee Camargo.
So now it's a matter of can Peter Donchak hold on for second? Hang on for a second. How about going for the race lead again outside of 3?
Taking that middle line, takes the dive to the inside, gets back into the draft. Single car battling here at Iowa, you're not going to get the move done on the high side.
No, and Watson's already running a very defensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, one car going around down the backstretch.
It's going to be Jesse Francisco, I think.
Yeah, Jesse Francisco got looped around, spun down to the inside. But as of now, we stay green. In the real world, that's an instant caution flag. In the virtual world, Francisco clears the car out and we keep going. Man, Chris Hill, Fluger, Camargo, Yoshikawa, all these guys are catching up quickly now.
The whole field is here now. Watson's not going to just be able to defend the inside line. If they get these guys in a tandem, they're going to be able to pass them on the high side. And Hill takes the move to the outside. He's at the quarter of Donchak now, side by side in the turn number 1. Doesn't have any help from Owens from behind though.
Well, yeah, and Owens is back behind him, but Owens is not in this race. He is 43 seconds back of your race leader, basically one lap down. Jason Owens needs the caution. And he needs to not
too late for Owens to get the caution.
Yeah, with 2.5 minutes or so left, 2:45. The caution now is likely to end it, even with the quickie yellow procedure.
Big move out of Hill. Takes a look to the inside. Has to force it back out to the outside instead of trailing the brakes. Gonna dive back one more time to the inside of Watson, but Watson's going to hug that yellow line. Like I was saying earlier in the race, that yellow line is lava. If you hit that yellow line, you will spin around. So you can't go below that. This track enforces that by itself.
Yeah, and even
but Hill
down the front
gets the
straightaway,
nose on
it's
Watson
not
across the
something.
line. 10,000ths of a second, Hill had the lead over the line there, and that's all it takes to win this race. You just have to be a nose ahead. Side-by-side, 3 rows back now.
How about one car spins
big
inside.
contact.
That's going to be Camargo.
Margo saves it, though.
Again, we stay green. Save of the year candidate for DAJ Camargo. And at this point, you almost have to say Owens needs to kind of just get out of the way and let these leaders battle at it. Owens not making life easy on West Shire there, up on the outside.
The problem with Owens getting out of the way, though, is if he slams on the brakes, Shire's going to run into him. If he does anything unpredictable, let these guys by, it throws everyone else off. Exactly what he's doing is what he needs to do. Just stay to the outside, let whoever wants to catch a draft on him catch a draft, and just hold his line.
About 1/10,000th of a second separating the two leaders at the line that time by, with 60 seconds remaining here in round 1 of the TNT Shock Series.
Watson gets the nose on Hill that time.
Yeah, and what did Donchak and Fluker do? We very well could see 3 or 4 wide at the finish of this one.
Don't count West Shire out either. He is a notable hater of this pack style racing, but he is very, very talented at it.
With 30 seconds remaining, this will be the next to last lap. They will see the white flag next time by.
Watson has another Team Watson racing car right behind him now.
White flag is out. One to go here at the Iowa Speedway. Hill, Watson, side by side off at 2. They've been that way for the last 10 laps. Watson pokes ahead ever so slightly. Hill gonna try to get the run. Off of 4, checkered flag in the air. It is James Watson getting the win in round number 1.
Will we see a penalty after the race? Oh, you weren't allowed to go below that yellow line.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, there is at least the potential of the question. Based on some of the pre-race discussions. Race control is looking at the finish. That's all we have right now. James Watson burning it down, doing the bull dance, feeling the flow, working it. But now the question becomes,
did Watson win the race?
As of the tentative, unofficial results, we will say, James Watson picking up the win here in round number 1.
I'd imagine the question becomes, how do I see Wes is now up in the race control booth. Wes is our series director, so it's going to be probably his call between him and Emma Cullen making the call. But from my perspective, did Watson going below that line win him the race, or was that just like, do we penalize him for going below the line, or would he have finished the same way if he stayed above it?
I don't know that that's necessarily relevant. To me, it's kind of a black and white rule. Is the yellow line out of bounds? Because it's not like the car was partially on, partially off. He was fully below the yellow line. So the question becomes, do we see James Watson get the win, or will he be penalized? And then what is the penalty? The difference at the line, 2/100ths of a second, separating James Watson from Christopher Hill. Let's show you the unofficial race results. Watson, Hill, Pfluger, your top 3, followed by Donchak and Yoshikawa back to 5th, Miller, Shire, Aldrich, Labarge, and Thompson to the 10th position. 11 through 20, Dakota DeMag, Liam Melson, EJ Camargo, Chris Kresge, Mike Long to 15th, Jason Owens, Andrew Berry, Jason Paydu, Justin Elliott, and Jesse Francisco back to the 20th position. Steve Costley, Drew Bernardi, Micah Damon, that's Murray Damon, JJ Wang, Dave Sparks, and Tristan Moss. And the word from race control, results are official. Will stand as called with an EOL, end of line penalty, next race to the 39 and the 98 of Vic Aldrich. So Watson will keep the win, keep the points, keep everything, but he's going to have to start shotgun on the field at the next race.
I think that's a fair penalty. I don't think he gained those 2/100ths of a second going below the yellow line. He might have gained 1/100th of a second, but not both of them going below there. But it was discussed that you can't go below the yellow line in the race meeting, so... And the line is perfectly fair.
Let's talk to first our third place finisher here, Bizzle. We will come back to that in just a moment. First, let's talk to our third place finisher, Mr. Vic Pfluger. Vic, congratulations on the third place finish. Fantastic drive for you here tonight. What was it like out there? It seemed like a whole lot going on kind of all at one time for you guys.
Wow, I gotta tell you, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. This is a really interesting car for me. This is only my third race in this style of car at all. And first race out here with you guys, and boy, was that fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't get to pack race very often in Formula-style open-wheel cars. How difficult is it to kind of go from single-file stuff off the restarts and off a pit lane to then you're kind of too wide, and then all of a sudden the big pack's going on? There's a lot of mental gymnastics you kind of have to do there.
Yeah, there's a lot with this car that's happening all around you, and different viewpoint than the stock cars that I'm used to for sure. So you keep catching movement out of the corner of your eye that you're not used to. The way the car crosses in front of you really affects the aero handling on your car, so it'll go from being a little free to really tight, and you kind of have to judge that every corner because it's never the same, never consistent. So you're just kind of sitting there wondering where the car is going to go this time and how can I keep it where I want it. So it's a really big challenge, and as you add cars, you can just kind of multiply those challenges for us. But this Team Watson car tonight, man, it was just really super steady, and I could keep it right there on the bottom and do what I needed to.
Well, congratulations on your first podium finish here in the TNT Shock Series. And before we let you go, get any of those sponsor plugs and shout outs you want to get in here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to say thanks to Team Watson for letting me come over and James for inviting me. Really cool to see him get a win right off my nose on night one, and really looking forward to how the rest of this year goes. Say hi to my kids at home, my wife Vanessa, and mom and dad. I'm sure they're watching somewhere.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out in the booth with us here. And now let's bring in Mr. Chris Hill, our runner-up finisher here tonight. And Chris, the car was really good, leading a race-high 52 laps. Ultimately, just not enough to get around James there right at the very end. Was there any, let me ask you this way. What were you trying to do? Because it seemed like the car out front just had such a huge advantage in clean air.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of messed up on the pit stop there. I obviously lost the spot, and then it looked like there was a sweet spot on the high line that occasionally would get to the line first, and obviously I missed it by 19,000 of a second, whatever that sweet spot was. So I think a couple laps back, I kind of lost enough distance that I wasn't able to make that high line off of 4 work, but. Yeah, I mean, it was a super clean race with James. I mean, he was very respectful, so that was I was super happy. First time racing this car ever, and to get a podium and be right up there towards the front, that was fine, and happy with that. Hoping we can keep running towards the pointy end throughout the rest of the races. We'll see.
Yeah, we saw you a lot in some of the IndyCar stuff that we did. What's the adjustment like going from a full-throated IndyCar to something with way less downforce, less horsepower, just kind of less of everything compared to the championship car?
Well, the honest truth of the matter is this is something that I have a bit more experience in real life in, is something of this kind of nature. I mean, I used to race, the old style Formula Mazda cars back, 20 some odd years ago, and they were, kind of momentum-y Formula cars, actually way worse than this as far as downforce. But I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. So for some reason, I tend to do decent in this type of a car. I don't know exactly why, but maybe it's just the experience with momentum kind of stuff. So it wasn't too hard to adapt to. It's just the biggest thing is getting used to having an open setup. I've been racing so many fixed leagues recently, and not knowing this car, I kind of just grabbing a baseline setup, and it seemed to be very close to where it needed to be. But then you get in the race, and I mean, my car didn't seem so strong, or at least I hadn't figured out how to drive it one or the other in traffic. But when I was out in front, I was happy. So clean. I needed the clean air for whatever reason, but it all worked out. I mean, getting a podium, I'm not too disappointed in that for the first race of the season, So,
well, congratulations on the runner-up finish here tonight. And before we let you go, get all those big sponsor plugs and shout-outs in for us here.
Yeah, always big thanks to Team Watson Racing, James and all of them, great guys. They got some great setups in their shop there. So if you're looking for something along those lines, hit them up. My company, Precision Racing Instruction, I'm a driving instructor for a living, and basically I coach people in the real world most of the time, occasionally in the sim. And so if anybody's looking for a tune-up either way, you can reach out to me and I'll see what I can do to help you out. And thanks to you guys for putting it on. We're looking forward to the next round. Should be fun.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming to hang out with us here for a couple of minutes up in the booth. And now it's time to bring in our race winner tonight, Mr. James Watson, picking up a win on the season opener, defending a championship here. The first question I have to ask you, James, was there any hesitation to going down below the yellow line like you did on that final lap? Because there was a little bit of a question whether that was inbounds or out of bounds.
I thought it was legal on the last lap. I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it until then. So,
Well, we regret to inform you that it was not legal on the last lap. But
there is an EOL penalty coming for you and Vic Aldrich. But that will be discussed afterwards. How good was the car once you finally got it out front? Because you led the last 16 circuits of this race, and you were up front the entire time. So the car was quick, but man, you were really fast once you got out front.
yeah, Yeah, I knew that I could, because like my strategy that I employed in during officials last season was, just basically get to the lead, hold the yellow line, and the outside car would inch ahead, but they wouldn't inch ahead until after we would cross the line. So I knew that once I got to where I needed to be and I just held serve and didn't do anything, then I would be fine. There's not anything that anyone would be able to do. So once I got past PD, I'm like, oh boy, this is exactly what I was hoping for, exactly what I needed.
Yeah, and then it turned into, quite frankly, a runaway for you there a little bit towards the end with able to hold off Chris. It seemed like he was able to make the outside lane work through 3 and 4, took the lead at the line by inches a couple of times. Was that the big concern and why you made the dive for the bottom, was just to kind of kill off the momentum of his run?
Basically, yeah, like didn't want to leave anything up to chance. So yeah, I was just trying to do everything I could to make sure I was just that little bit ahead.
Well, then we get to a 6-race schedule. Wins are huge, especially against the competition in this league. This has got to be a big one in trying to defend a championship.
Yep, I was my most successful track in this car. So I knew if I had any chance of being able to defend the title, that I was gonna have to win here. Because like I don't know if Chris is doing a full season or not, but Chris is one of the best road guys you'll ever find. So it's an automatic win for him and the Glen. And IRP has never been one of my better tracks either. So yeah, I just making sure that I maximize points where I could.
Well, it was a fantastic show for you here tonight, James. Congratulations on the win. And before we let you out of here, get us all their sponsor plugs and shout outs.
Yes, sir. Got to thank everyone at Team Watson Racing Sept. Use code WATSPIN39 for 10% off at checkout. Got to thank you and everyone else at the National Racing Network. Got to thank Boomer Button Boxes, Martin Sports, Sim Racing Apparel, and ZS Designs and Dizzy V Designs for putting together my paint schemes.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you much. We appreciate you coming up to check in the booth with us here for a couple of minutes. And Bizzle, what I would say a strongly worded message from Race Control.
Just saw that Race Control message.
Going out to the drivers. Basically, the only reason that that 3 cars were not DQ'd tonight is because they didn't specifically say they were going to DQ you for using the apron on the last lap. Obviously something they're going to be looking at very closely in the future. I don't know that there's much of a chance that we're going to have that as an issue going forward. Maybe at Richmond, but IRP isn't really a place that you would do it. Legacy Phoenix, not really. Gateway, not really. There's a wall there, not a line. So
I think Richmond is the only other one.
Yeah, Richmond looks like it's going to be the only other one that this could come into play on. But yeah, a fantastic show to start this race. Only 2 cautions. I think it was 2 cautions. A lot of green flag laps. A total of, good Lord, a ton. 114 laps completed by the leaders. All in all, not a bad show for night number 1 here at the TNT Shock Series.
No, I'm very happy to be back, and I couldn't have asked for a better race to come back to this iRacing thing, and looking forward to the rest of the off-season for the real world stuff, being able to come here on Tuesday nights and still get to watch some race cars go in circles.
Yeah, that's it. We're going to hang out with our buddies. We're going to tell you some stories and tell you a little bit more about these drivers as the season goes on. And we are really, really looking forward to bringing all the TNT Shock Series action. Who knows? Maybe we'll pick something up here for the next season of iRacing when that debuts. I guess 2025 season 1 we're going to be talking about. That'll kick off kind of late November, but we'll see what that brings. Maybe some sprint cars, maybe some silver crowns. Who knows?
2025 season 1 coming around means that we've been doing this crazy thing for 5 years.
Yeah. Pretty wild when we think about it.
Half a decade, dude.
Yeah, it's been a while, that's for sure. But we'll tell you some of the stories, maybe go over some of the history stuff too, and some of the shenanigans that we do off air. But with that, it's time for us to get the heck on out of here. For Bizzle and everybody else here at the National Racing Network that makes these shows happen, my name is Chris Graham. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, and we will talk to you all soon. Have a great night, everybody.